Hello, this is Reverend Bill, and I'm going to apologize for my kind of different setup today, but I'm in my new digs. That's why I've not recorded anything the last few days. I apologize. But, and my studio is a little different, so I'm not able to actually put up my little cheat sheet like I usually do. My apologies. I don't have another monitor, so I'll describe to you what you'd usually see as I talk, and I'll have my other monitor ready for next time, hopefully. I'm doing my show, so with my description of what I'm talking about, maybe that'll help. Uh, but anyway, I do have a lot to cover. A lot of things have been happening, and we'll definitely go through them. Um, yeah, a lot of happening, but first we'll go over something that I thought was pretty interesting, and that is Modelo beer is actually now not number one anymore, which I found was kind of strange, because Bud Light had been dethroned with the nightmare of what was going on with the Dylan Mulvaney thing, and Bud Light was knocked out a couple of years ago, I guess, and Modelo took over. But Modelo didn't do anything wrong, and now suddenly it dropped out, and Michelob Ultra is now number one. I'm not a beer drinker. Actually, I don't drink at all now. But when I did drink beer, I actually tasted Michelob Ultra. In college, I was a Michelob drinker, not Michelob Ultra. I don't think they had Michelob Ultra when I was back in college. I think Moosehead was my big beer back then, and Heffenreffer when I was hurting for money. Um, but I drank Michelob, and I liked Michelob. But so when I tried a beer again, I tried Michelob Ultra. And my personal opinion was it was terrible. But I guess it's popular now. And again, I'm not really a beer drinker, but I did try it, and my goodness, I was kind of surprised how bad it was. But anyway, it's now number one, and I was trying to think why would Modelo fall out of favor? And I'm just guessing, But my thought is, has it got anything to do with the deportation of all the immigrants? I mean, it is a Mexican beer, and I'm just wondering if maybe with the mass deportation, if that wouldn't explain. I mean, I'm just thinking. I mean, why else would Modelo drop? Maybe they're in hiding, or they're getting self-deported, or I don't know. It just there's got to be some reason, and I would think that might be at least something you want to take a look at. But I don't know. Just a thought. Now, the next one is probably a little bit more serious, although that was actually kind of serious too, in a humorous sort of way. Um, This is, as I probably mentioned before, a lot of my information I get from the New York Post. Not that I'm from New York, not that I like New York. Actually, I don't like New York. The reason I go to New York Post is it's very difficult for me to find any newspaper that I like, and I don't particularly care for the journalistic integrity of the New York Post. I was taught in journalism from Professor Morrow, who I'm sure is not around anymore. He was a very, very good teacher. He was an editor for the Globe when the Globe was a respectable newspaper way back when, not now by any stretch, but back when the Globe was respected. And he did a lot to teach me how journalism should be, and that's why I don't like any newspapers now. And At least with the Post, they give what I consider to be factual stories. Although the journalists, I don't like the way they put the stories. They slant things. They use adjectives, that I would never, ever, ever, put in a story. pervert does, they should tell the facts. We should decide whether he's a pervert or not. Even stories where he's obviously a pervert, a journalist should never put in creep, pervert. They should give the facts, and we should decide whether he's a pervert or a creep. But I don't think you can ever find a journalist around that would actually put just the facts in. But at least they cover the news, like the Times, the Post. They just leave out stories. I mean, if it's a liberal that commits a crime, they don't even put that in. At least with the Post, I think they put the stories in. I just don't like the way they slant the stories, but at least we're getting stories. Getting off that now. But Rich Lowry put a very, very good story in today. He's a columnist, and I think it's worth mentioning. And I really think he gave some insights that that really I thought was very, very good. And that is that this trans violence is probably just beginning. And and what he was saying was the fight with the gays is actually it's somewhat civilized. I mean, the way it is with when we argue with the gay, the homosexual population, we say it's a sin, which it is. I don't want to really get into this as a gay thing, but it's obvious in the Bible. It says over and over again, it's a sin. That's all there is to it. And we say it's bad for you. It can cause AIDS or HIV, and they ignore us if they want to. They don't really listen, but I mean, it's up to them. But I mean, we say it's bad for you. It's a path to hell, and it'll get you ill. And they can listen or they'll ignore us. They ignore us. That's fine. And then if it gets really bad, we'll say they'll try to sell it to our children, and we'll say leave our children alone. And that's really the fight that's really gets bad. Leave our children alone, and then we'll argue, and then basically we go the wrong ways. They'll ignore us, and we'll go home and with our children, and that's pretty much as bad as it gets, right? I mean, they'll ignore us and go close their door, and we'll go home with our children and close the door. And that's pretty much the fight for the most part, right? Well, this is completely different with the trans. They're delusional. And they put a lot of investments in their delusion. First of all, they're mentally unstable. They really are. But beyond that, unlike the gay people, that they go and do what they want to do, and they close the door and they ignore us, and they live in their own little world. And that's fine. We go and we live in our Christ-like world, and we close the door and we do our thing, and they do their thing. We live in separate worlds. That's fine. The trans people invest. I don't know what that was. Anyway, the trans people live in their own world. They invest. Some kind of AI or something I got over there. I'm not sure what that is. Anyway, they have an investment, a monetary investment in the delusions. Never mind. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, they have their money, and they invest in their delusions, and they build their life around what that is. Their fragile life, and their fake pronouns, and they live in that delusion, and they invest in it, and they have relationships on it, and they build on that delusion. And I think he mentioned it's a game of like Jenga, where you pull things out, and they build up this structure, and it's fragile. It's really fragile, and they're mentally delicate. And when they walk around outside, their whole existence is dependent on you subscribing to it. And their relationships are all built on you accepting who they are. And, if you pull that pin out, their whole existence, their relationship, who they are, everything is depending on you buying into it. And if the emperor's no clothes, if you call them sir or madam with the wrong thing, you're bringing down their world. This isn't a matter of a gay person, you saying, shame on you, you shouldn't be gay. This is like tearing their world apart. And they're already mentally unstable. So, this isn't a thing where they can just run home and close the door and be with their partner. I mean, you're basically um, ripping their world apart. I mean, you're telling them they're not a man or a woman. And I mean, um, the truth is they're not. I mean, you deep down they must know they're not too. And that must be difficult for them because, you're not giving a man a vagina, you're giving him a wound. And I'm sure that there's a lot of care at night. They've got to take care of that wound. It probably bleeds and that's probably weighing on them too. You know, so that's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. They're going through an awful lot to keep this pretend world in balance. And again, they're not operating from a very stable mental picture to begin with. And then they go out and, we laugh at them because they look hysterical. I mean, yeah, I can see how this is just the beginning, and society's just reinforcing it. I mean, I was very surprised to find out that um, a gun store cannot say no to them. I mean, I would think that it's common sense that if there's a gun owner and if someone walks in there who's obviously not fit to own a gun, you should be able to refuse them. Um, but apparently, a gun owner can't refuse to sell a gun to someone who's trans. That's not, and I think to me that would be common sense. If someone walks in there with a guy walking in there with a crazy wig on and lipstick all over his face and demanding automatic. I don't really know much about guns, but an AK-47 or whatever, some assault weapon, you should be able to say, "No, buddy, sorry, you don't look very stable to me. I'm not going to send you an automatic. I'm not going to send you an assault rifle." But they can't, and that confuses me. But that's the law. And I don't know. To me, that's kind of a crazy law, but that's the way it is. Anyway, so I think Rich Lowry, very good article in the New York Post, brings a very um, very good point, and that is this is not the end. This is the beginning, and the question shouldn't be how did it happen. It's why doesn't it happen more often, and what are we going to do to protect ourselves? Because this is only going to get worse. This is probably going to give them ideas now, because when they don't like something, they're going to probably get guns and do it. I mean, again, they're probably not the most stable people out there, which kind of gets me to my next point, and that is, um, I think it's about time that us Christians, conservatives, accept the fact that we are kind of in a civil war right now, and not just against the trans. I think we're in a civil war. Maybe not technically. I mean, technically we are. Maybe not. Um, maybe it's not been declared, but I think it's pretty obvious to me with everything that's going on with Jimmy Kimmel, which we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But I think it's no one's talking. Liberals aren't talking. I think it's at the point where now it's quite obvious. Liberals are not willing to talk. It's quite obvious that liberals want us dead. I mean, they're not willing to budge at all. If we are not going to give liberals what they want, liberals want everyone that does not agree with them. They want us dead. They're not. I don't know any liberal that's willing to budge. They want what they want, or they want us to die. There's no. I don't know any liberal that wants to sit down and talk. Charlie Kirk was there. Charlie Kirk was going to all the colleges. Let's talk things out. Let's talk. Let's talk. Once we stop talking, that's when violence happens. And their answer was they shot him. And I don't know about you, but I don't know any liberal that's willing to compromise on anything. I stopped. My children stopped talking to me. They went. I raised them, and I took them to college, and they got indoctrinated. And since they came out of college, I don't talk to them anymore. They don't talk to me. Don't even know why. I mean, that's they won't even talk to me about that. So that's it. I mean, they went to college, and last time I talked to them. So that's just the way things are. Liberals have no interest in bending or talking or anything. And so that's just my take. I don't know any. I mean, you're hearing crazy things. I mean, I hear it all the time. Um, about the deportation. I mean, oh, they come in, they've arrested people, and they weren't even doing anything. They didn't commit a crime. Really, they were here. I mean, go to Cuba and break into Cuba, and then when the customs officials there grab you, go, hey, I didn't commit any crime, and let's see what they say to you. I mean, you broke into that country. By definition, that's a crime, right? Not to mention, if you ran for it, that's resisting. I mean, they'll come up with a bunch of crimes. Believe it. Believe you me. They will come up with crimes. All right. Anyway, we're getting moving along. Got a lot of stuff to cover still. Okay, so they're putting Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. Yeah, they're putting. But what happened? Sinclair has already said that they're not going to carry it on the affiliates. I guess we're waiting for Nestar. I'm guessing they're probably going to follow Sinclair. I'm guessing. I don't know. But I would think that they will. Even if they don't, Sinclair is pretty bad. And as far as that, because I don't think I've talked about the Jimmy Kimmel thing. Look, he's not a journalist. He's a comedian, but that's not. To me, he crossed that line when he actually came out and made himself. He crossed the comedic line with the last 4 years, badgering Trump or the Republican ticket, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's no secret. And people are saying, oh, he's a comedian. He's a comedian. You want it both ways. When Roseanne came out and made that show, which, I thought that was an overreaction, but whatever. I mean, I'm not even sure I remember what she said. Did she compare some black woman to a gorilla or something? I even forget what she did, but it was borderline, and they took her off the show. Certainly, it was not as bad as Kimmel. I mean, she was probably drunk and did something. Kimmel went up and he absolutely lied, and he was sober, and he lied intentionally. Lied. That wasn't. I think Roseanne. Not to compare the two. I think Roseanne was drunk and said something she thought it was funny. And I think comedians always have to take risks, and sometimes the risks fail. I saw Joan Rivers once when she was doing Celebrity Apprentice, and she said a joke that she thought was hysterical. It wasn't bad taste; it was just a dumb joke, where she was clucking like a chicken. And the funny thing is, she actually went to Donald Trump because I guess the rest of the people on her team didn't think it was funny, and she started doing it. Donald Trump, who lasted everything, and Donald Trump goes, "No, that's not funny." Because it wasn't. But she misfired. Comedians do that. She thinks some things are funny, they're not funny. Donald Trump goes, "No, it's not funny." So she dropped it finally. I think Roseanne Barr got drunk or something. She blamed it on Ambien, and she made a joke, and it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. Okay, was a little offensive, but it wasn't funny. Jimmy Kimmel went out and he flat out lied for politics. He knew it wasn't. He must have known it wasn't true. Everyone knew it wasn't true, and lie like that. I mean, should his show have been canceled? I don't like him, so I'll say yes, but that was probably a little harsh. But I can't wish enough bad things on Jimmy Kimmel. So maybe I'm being harsh. I probably am being harsh, but yeah, I'll cancel him because I don't like him. But no, it probably was a little harsh. Um, but uh, but whatever. I mean, he intentionally lied. That's a whole different thing than Roseanne Barr, making a bad joke. It's like you know, it was like Gilbert Gottfried with that bad joke that he made after the typhoon or whatever it was in typhoon in Japan or what it was that hurt his career, which actually was kind of funny. It was just in bad taste. Um, what did he say? Something like what did he say? Something like um, what a great deal. Usually you have to go to the beach. In Japan, the beach comes to you, or something like that. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I mean, he paid the price too. But anyway, getting off the subject, Jimmy Kimmel lied. And I think he should have been at least suspended. And he should have been made to apologize. He's coming as a smart aleck. He didn't have to apologize. I think he's going to get. I think his ratings are done anyway. His ratings are already done, so I don't think he's really going to make out on the deal. Um, but regardless, I think he's done anyway. It doesn't really matter whether his show gets canceled or not. I think he's absolutely done. He hurt himself. Anyway, so what else we got to cover? Oh, Keith Olbermann. Um, what a has-been. I can't believe, what do you say, Charlie Kirk's burning in hell. Um, where do the guys come from? I mean, the guy, Charlie Kirk might actually, be the closest thing to a saint in this earth. I mean, really, I mean, he had patience. He had patience far exceeding mine, and I try to be a really nice guy sometimes, but and I watch him in these debates, and he's very, very amenable to all kinds of people that I wouldn't have patience for. I mean, seriously, there's no doubt in my mind that he's with Jesus right now, and I hope he's got a, he's. I really hope that he is, and always putting a good word in for us while he's up there because we could use it. No, I mean, Charlie was one of the nicest people, and I don't know the guy. I wish I did, but just from watching him, I mean, I could do worse than modeling myself after Charlie Kirk. And for saying he's burning in hell, Keith Olbermann, what are you? Are you one of the antichrists? By the way, there are more than one antichrist. Anyone that actually reads the Bible will know there's multiple antichrists. I'm actually sure that I know one. But yeah, but he seems to be like he's looking to get one of the labels of an antichrist. Oh, Jimmy Kimmel, I think I already covered him. He's too stupid to be an antichrist. I don't know what he is. I'd like to string him be a punching bag. What else we got? Oh, Obama. Now, here's the thing. I was saying to my wife, he claims to be a Christian. I don't buy it, by the way. I honestly He actually, by the way, okay, my first thing I want to say about Obama is he came out and he said he never met Charlie Kirk. He knows what he stands for, and he's wrong about everything. Pretty much. Now, anyone who says he's against everything Charlie Kirk stands for either doesn't know what Charlie Kirk stood for, or he's a really bad person because everything Charlie Kirk stood for was no violence, talk things out, let's be reasonable. I mean, how could you possibly say you're against it? You know everything Charlie Kirk stands for and you're against it. You obviously are a very bad person, or you don't know what Charlie Kirk stood for. Um, so that's my take on things. You're either a very bad person or you're lying when you say you know what Charlie Kirk stood for. So that's my first thing. My second thing I was saying to my wife was, number one, I don't think he's a real Christian, flat out. However, I said to my wife, of all the bad things I think about Obama, had he shown up at Charlie Kirk's funeral and shown up as a Christian, doesn't that we are still one nation under God as a Christian, and we're coming together just as one nation to pay homage to a fellow Christian, as one nation together, united as a brotherhood, not making any statement about across the aisle or anything, just to show brotherhood, one nation under God, that we can still work together. I think that would have been a tremendous um, um, token of union. And I think that would have gone far to help this country heal, just to show that through all our differences, we're still one nation under God. I think that would have been very touching. And I would have had to take pause and rethink my opinion of Obama. Instead, he was cruising out, I think, in Italy with his family. So, you know, I really think that was a blown opportunity for Obama to make an effort to say, we are still one nation together under God. And I think that would have been tremendous. But instead, he was sunning out with his family in Italy on a cruise. And I said, typical. That's what I would have expected. Anyway, and I'm wondering, if it had been reversed, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump would have done the same, would have done that exact thing, because I think that Trump's a class guy, and I think he would have, at least thought about it. Jimmy Fallon, um, he said he's still going to make jokes, but I noticed that after Kimmel was suspended, he had an appearance that he canceled immediately, and I don't know what he was going to talk to, because I actually checked up the venue to see what he was going to give his presentation about, and they had already taken it down. So I don't know what he was going to speak about, but they were really quick to remove him from the program online, because as soon as he canceled, I checked and they removed what he was going to speak about. So I don't know what he was going to speak about, but it's very coincidental that when they pulled Kimmel, he backed out of his speaking engagement. So I don't know. But if Fallon seems to be kind of smart. He might say he's going to make fun of what I was going to make fun of the Republicans, but he backed out pretty quickly. I'll tell you that much. Jon Stewart, I saw his appearance. What he only does Mondays, and he made an appearance, I think was it Wednesday or Thursday night, to joke about the politically correct. I tried watching that objectively. I try not to have my politics too much affect me when I go to watch something like Jon Stewart doing his bit on that show, Comedy Central, I think it is. I try to go up there as objectively as I can, and I watched about 7 or 8 minutes of him joking around, but this has been approved, a presidentially approved show, and he's acting all nervous and all this stuff. I legitimately um, did not find it in the least bit funny, and it's not just because he was making fun of Trump. I tried to be subjective. It looked to me like if it was like a 4 or 5 year old who's trying to be funny and he's just not, and you're trying to be a parent or whatever, and you're just like and you're trying not to embarrass the child. I felt like one of those moments, except I wasn't pretending because I'm watching it on TV, but I'm almost embarrassed for him. It just wasn't funny, and I could only try to watch it for so long, and then I'm like, I just not funny, and I ended up turning it off. I mean, I just there was nothing there to watch. It was just boring. So I don't know. Uh, let's see what else. There was I'm getting off the subject really quickly. There was a man in Miami airport that I guess they found human skull and bones in his bag, and yeah, he was bringing skull and bones, saying he was using from a ritual witchcraft. Again, my question would be, why doesn't it happen more often? I know witches that have these kind of um, you know have these kind of rituals, or they want to call it, all the time. Witches are out there, people. I tell you about it all the time. Witchcraft is real. I fight it all the time, although I don't like. They run from me now that I got the Holy Ghost. But yeah, it's out there. It certainly is, and I can't emphasize enough that when you do have these strange things happening in your life, pray, because when you end up getting laid off, you don't know why, or you end up, your husband, your children start acting weird, getting into drugs, or drinking, and you don't know where it's coming from. A lot of that, is witchcraft. um yeah, just pray. That's I'm telling you, if this stuff starts happening to you and you don't know where it's coming from, and it's happening in clumps, it's starting in clumps. Your husband or wife start having affairs that never used to. Good possibility that it's witchcraft. I'm telling you. I wish someone had told me years ago, when these things start happening, especially in clumps, good possibility that's witchcraft entering your life. And Jesus will help you and take care of that if you pray. One other thing that's kind of interesting that kind of slipped through, and I didn't mention it with everything that's going on with Charlie Kirk, but not to be missed, that there was some shocking footage of a UFO that came out a couple of weeks ago. And again, I've been sitting on this because of the Charlie Kirk thing. But there was Congress was shown footage of a UFO that was entered into space, and the U.S. military shot a Hellfire missile at it. And a Hellfire missile is serious business. And it hit the UFO and did no damage. It just bounced off it. And that is not a small thing. The UFO it got knocked off a little bit and just continued. And again, this is footage that was shown to Congress, and I said I can't show it to you now because I don't have the screen, but you could probably look it up if you wanted to. And let me read you from what it said here. There's known metal or technology publicly acknowledged that can resist the explosion of a Hellfire missile, which is designed to destroy heavily armored tanks and fortified structure. Now, this is bounced off the UFO with no effect. The Hellfire's explosive anti-tank warhead can penetrate up to 31 inches of armored steel, enough to defeat modern main battle tanks. Let's see. The thermobaric variants cause powerful blast and pressures capable of demolishing reinforced buildings and bunkers. Um, Basically, I'm going to just not read everything. No conventional human technology or vehicle is known that could survive a Hellfire missile direct hit, as the UFO reportedly did. Again, let me read that again. No conventional human technology or vehicle is known that could survive a Hellfire missile direct hit, as a UFO reportedly did. This event is verified, would underscore a technology or material strength far exceeding anything known in modern military defense. So essentially, a UFO came in here and we shot our Sunday missile, a Hellfire missile, at it, and it shrugged it off and kept on going. And this is not something from TikTok. This was shown to Congress. This was shown by our US military to Congress. Okay. This is not a TikTok thing. And this came out probably about a day or two before Charlie was killed. So it kind of got buried. But I caught this and I just wanted to show it, or to talk to you about it. But that's pretty major. But again, it got kind of buried with everything else that was going on. But anyway, that's all I got for you today. And I'll end it there. And hope you liked it. If you did, like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't, well, come back again and we'll try again harder next time. Talk to you later. Reverend Bill signing off. Bye.